This Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Roman Wilson situation is getting out of control. So, as we all know, Roman Wilson was selected in last year's NFL draft in the 3rd round, 84th overall, but he missed the entire season, basically due to ankle injuries and hamstring injuries. But now he's projected back for the entire offseason and training and obviously the regular season. And it seems like many people have forgotten about him, but I haven't, because he has a lot to offer to this team. So, if you haven't realized yet, George Pickens is gone. He was traded away, and the only reason you make that trade other than to recoup some draft picks of value back is because you feel comfortable and confident in the wide receiver depth that you have on the team, and you feel confident in the players to step up, make some plays, and show out. And guess who's one of them? Roman Wilson. Roman Wilson missed the entire year last year, but he was drafted in the 3rd round. And you being drafted in the 3rd round isn't just a player that's going to go away. That's someone you feel confident enough that can be a high-end player, a rotational player, or maybe even a superstar in the league. That's what you expect a 3rd round draft pick to be. And the Steelers felt confident in that pick. It kind of came out of nowhere, but Roman Wilson was their guy. And many people think just because you get injured and you miss your entire basically first year that you're gone. You're a bust now, and it's completely over. But Calvin Austin turned that narrative. Calvin Austin got injured his first year, and I made the exact same video on him coming back from that injury. And look where he is now, someone who's making an impact on this team. And Roman Wilson is looking to do the exact same thing. He, if you haven't realized, coming out of college was the best route runner in creating space in the entirety of college. He was 10% higher in terms of creating separation on his routes than any other player. And that's really impressive. Roman Wilson is a pure route runner. What have the Pittsburgh Steelers been looking for? What have the Pittsburgh Steelers needed? A route runner. They obviously had these high players in terms of height, weight, and someone who could high point the ball and make plays down the field in terms of throwing it up and they could catch it. But they've needed someone to be able to create space on their routes and do all the dirty work. And that's what Roman Wilson could do. Roman Wilson's talent is creating space, working out of the slot, working in the intermediate, and being able to catch the ball and do great things with it. And he is that guy in terms of that. And his stats from college show it. The Pittsburgh Steelers, like I said, wouldn't have drafted him for no reason. And you have to think he's going to come back even hungrier, missing all of his rookie season, basically, playing like 10 snaps, and everyone talking about him in a negative way, calling him a bust. He's only going to have a chip on his shoulder. And Roman Wilson has a lot to provide for this team. Roman Wilson can make a comeback just like Calvin Austin did. And he's a bigger wide receiver than Calvin Austin, so he has the opportunity to even produce more. Roman Wilson will step into a role now, a way bigger role, and he will have to prove himself. But based off all the reports, Roman Wilson is a player that Pittsburgh Steelers really like. And to be honest, he has the most to prove after the George Pickens trade. Because when you look at all of this, if he goes down with injury again, or if he goes down and doesn't become the playmaker that he was in college, then the bust narrative will continue. And then he'll be known in Steelers franchise as a wide receiver. That was just a waste. But when you look at him, he has the potential to do some great things. He's now going to be given a larger role. And on this team, that's what's needed. When you look at Metcalf, that's really the only wide receiver who's guaranteed a spot on this team as someone who could consistently get targets. Other than that, Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, Robert Woods, Scotty Miller, Ben Skowronek, and other wide receivers are going to have to fight for their targets. Obviously, Calvin Austin has proven himself, but with a new quarterback coming in, it might be a little bit different. So, when you look at the Steelers wide receiver room, it has barely any one of good, solid statistics of someone who could do it right now at a high level, other than obviously DK Metcalf. So that leaves the door open for Roman Wilson to come and work his way to the top and show out and put up some stats. So Roman Wilson, he has a chance to be a good wide receiver, and he has the opportunity to be a bust. Let's see the route that he goes down. But his stock market right now, in terms of what his value can be, it could only go up because right now it's at the lowest point it can be. So the point of this video is basically saying, hey, this situation of Roman Wilson, calling him out of his name, saying all these stuff about him as he's not a good wide receiver is ridiculous because we've seen players get injured and you're acting as if players cannot get injured. They play football. This is an injury sport and things are going to happen, but they bounce back. It's the way they bounce back that you could judge them on. So Roman Wilson has a chance to bounce back. And when you look at him, it's not like he didn't want to play this entire season. It's not like he just got injured just to get injured. No, something happened. He got injured and he missed the year. And as a rookie, even if he was healthy towards the end of the season or the middle of the season, he's not just going to be put on the football field. So the coaches have to decide, hey, we want you on the field instead of this person, a veteran who's been doing it for us all season. So it's a little bit different. He could have been healthy halfway through the year. He could have been healthy, but he could have stuck on IR because the coaches felt as if they had other wide receivers who they trusted more. So it's all about trust too as a rookie. So it's not entirely Roman Wilson's fault. And the situation is getting out of control because you're acting as if, or people are acting as if, George Pickens was a player that the Pittsburgh Steelers fan base didn't always get on. The Steelers fan base got on George Pickens a lot. They got him a lot for basically being rowdy on the sidelines and kind of getting mad at his teammates, but also are giving up on plays. That's a big thing on George Pickens, and that's what a lot of fan base hated about what he did. And Roman Wilson is a guy who hasn't done that in terms of in college, and he's a guy who isn't even been given an opportunity yet, but you're acting as if, or we're acting as if, he's not a player who has potential. You can't just give up on a guy for not doing anything when he hasn't been given a chance. You look at the Pittsburgh Steelers wide receivers once again, like I said, and they drafted him for a reason. He was a high draft pick for a reason. And giving that all up and saying, hey, you're a bust, just doesn't make sense. He has a chance to be special. This Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver group in general has a chance to step up, make some plays, and we've seen other players be given more opportunities in the past, and when you're given opportunity, you could succeed. Some players are never given the full potential of opportunity to succeed in this league because the opportunities targets aren't there, but now they're there. There's a lot more George Pickens targets to go around, and these guys are going to have to step up even more. And this wide receiver room, in terms of comparing it to last year, is basically quite the same. Instead of George Pickens on the team, it's DK Metcalf. And the same guys behind him, some of those guys are gone, but other guys are brought in, veterans like Robert Woods. And then you still have young players. Roman Wilson is in the Calvin Austin role. So this wide receiver room looks a lot like last year, but let's see how it does. But Roman Wilson, like I know, his stock is only going to rise because he's going to prove why he can be that number 2 receiver. And he was drafted in the 3rd round to be that number 2 receiver next to George Pickens. It didn't quite work out, but now he has the opportunity to be that number 2, number 3 wide receiver next to DK Metcalf and Calvin Austin. But let's see how this goes. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below on Roman Wilson as a whole. However, do you believe, like I believe, that the narrative around him needs to change and he needs to be given the opportunity and not just have crap talk about him based off something that he could not control? Do you think he'll show up this season? How do you think Roman Wilson will do? What is the stats prediction down in the comments below? Also, do you think he could move into the number 2 receiver role? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And also make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn notifications for everything Pittsburgh Steelers news, updates, highlights, analysis reports. Everything surrounding this team, I've covered it, and I'll continue covering it as the off-season goes along and the actual season when it comes time. So stay tuned, like, comment, and subscribe, turn notifications for this channel. And until the next video, until next time, I'll see you guys all later. I'm out. Peace.